Hey guys, I'm here to introduce you to my channel and my content whilst dressed as a shark. I'm dressed as a shark because sharks are cool. Okay, here we go. So, I write in all sorts of genres, in all sorts of formats, for all sorts of audiences. I am going to rely a little bit on your intelligence as readers to work out whether you are necessarily the target audience for the piece of work and whether it's the sort of thing you're going to enjoy. Before I talk to you about my work, I'm going to give you 2 examples for how you might pick through that. Okay, this is my very first novella. Technically it's a novel, but if you call it a novella, that's fine. It's called The Path of Pain and Ruin. On the front of it, there's a skull covered in bronze, splashed with blood. This is my latest kids collection, Tales from the Littlest Kingdom. Now, it's got pretty little girls on the front, and a balloon, and a sword and a stone. You know, got a vibe from it. Now, if you think this is kid appropriate, have a little word with yourself. If you think this is probably aimed at the romantasy audience, again, have a little word with yourself. Adults' books, kids' books, they look different, but the kids' books can be read by adults to their children. That's what they're for. You may also notice the colours, the white, the light blue, the pink. If you're a bigot, this ain't the place for you. You won't enjoy my work. It'll have messages in that you find upsetting. That's totally fine. Keep it to yourself, and then keep on moving. And I say it's totally fine. It isn't totally fine. Have a little word with yourself. But if your heart is full of hatred for people you don't understand, my work is not for you. Right. Provisos aside, let's quickly talk you through what there is out there by me, for you, because if you're still here, it might be for you. Right. The Gods' Paths, The Path of Pain and Ruin, Paths to Empire's Ends, Grimdark, Low Fantasy. Grimdark magazine called this book, that's right, I had a review in Grimdark magazine, they called this book Unrelenting. I'm okay with that. Multiple people that I know personally have told me that it was too violent for them to finish. That's also okay, it is deliberately violent. Okay, there is a point to the violence. Nothing that I ever put in my books is there sort of thoughtlessly, right? So the violence serves the themes, it serves the plots, but if you pick up a book with a skull dipped in bronze covered in blood called The Path of Pain and Ruin and are surprised that it's a little violent, as I say, I don't think the rest of my stuff's for you, right? Just in terms of like the sort of media literacy component of it, right? Totally okay to pick that up and go, do you know what, I don't think that's for me because that's not the sort of content that I like. There's good news coming for you on that front. There's loads of content. There'll be something you like. All right. Next thing. All right. If you're more into like a classic traditional type fantasy, you know, slightly modern take on it, you know, very informed by the history of the genre, you'll see from the books behind me, you know, that's one of my 4 copies of Dune. I've got too many copies of that book. You know, if you're more interested in that sort of aspect of the genre, then this book might be for you. The 13th Prince. Full-length novel, 95,000 words. It's still very brisk. It's narrated by a character called Jean, who is neurodiverse, who is working in an important but like sort of quite obscure job in an imperial bureaucracy when he stumbles across a political plot. I tell people that the book is like a combination of Glenn Cook's The Black Company and the TV series Suits. Someone read the book and they said it was like, what if Ocean's 11 happened in Middle-earth? So if you like, sort of, if you can think of like the political end of Game of Thrones without the sexual violence, or if you're interested in the sort of manoeuvring and machinations of The Expanse, but wish there were more swords and bows and arrows and spaceships, that one might be for you. I'm really proud of it. Like, it took me a long time to write. I love it. It's part of a wider setting that I'm hoping to explore later in the future. Speaking of wider settings, I have 2 other wider settings that are not available in physical formats at the moment. The first is called The Oral History of the Cavendish Company. It is a series of relatively short, relatively punchy sort of flash stories and vignettes that take place in an episodic format. They're available on Foo4All. I shall put the link in the show notes. There is a piece coming out in Exterminating Angel, which is thematically linked, and also you can read it separately or you can read it alongside the other stories. I have a lot of fun in that sort of dystopian science fiction world. There is, humour and love. It's a real mix of science fiction genres and blends. Like every episode is, gets the opportunity to explore something different, whilst being sort of Lego bricks that are contributing to a wider whole. You can pick it up at any point, go backwards and forwards between the stories, search out the things you like. There are solar punk things in there, there are real dystopian things in there, there's more space opera type stuff, there's more exploration type stuff. It's a real mixed bag of all the stuff that I love and I'm interested in, but written with a really consistent narrative voice. So if you're into sci-fi, go to Food for All, read my stories on there, read other people's stories on there. There's some brilliant stuff on Food for All. Separate to that, I also have a world that I call 9 Realms of Reality. There's a story in my YouTube channel called Go Fly a Kite. Right? It's Swords and Sorcery is like one of the sort of classic fantasy genres. It's very pulpy, like Conan the Barbarian, those sorts of things. It's like muscular heroes doing their stuff, wicked wizards. I'm much more interested in the sort of wicked wizards and where that interplays with fantasy and what it means as a sort of commentary on wider social things, right? So there's also a book called A Many-Winged Retreat. It's a novella, it's out there. It's about a barbarian adventurer who takes on a job that isn't the job she thought she was taking on. Right, so that's like a classic fantasy trope, mixed with other fantasy tropes and set in what I hope is quite a unique world. It's a sort of dying Earth. There is technology knocking about. Nobody really understands how it works. So it's a bit, there's aspects of things like Warhammer in there. It's funny, it's sort of ludicrous, it can be at times incredibly violent, but also, again, the violence is there serving a purpose narratively. There is other stuff coming in that world that's already written. There's a novel, a novelette, a novella, and a short story collection, and various other bits and pieces. There's also other bits out there in other publications. So I'm hoping that people try that, people pick it up, people sort of get into the world. There's going to be a really sort of consistent set of branding on that, so you'll be able to look and go, oh, that's Joel's 9 Realms. Let's get into that. And it's got like loopy stuff. There's undead dinosaurs, deranged wizards. I mean, all the wizards are basically cracked. Broken bits of spaceship falling out of the sky, hot air balloons, dwarves, crazy monsters. It's a lot of fun. I have like an absolute hoot writing it, and that's basically where it comes from. Final thing that I want to talk about for adults is poetry. I write a lot of poetry. Some of it is out there. Places like the American Journal of Nursing, Epistemic. It talks about. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's quite light. I have pieces forthcoming that are limericks and high bun. I really sort of span the range. I would say generally it's not. There would be pieces that kids could read, but I don't think they'll access. And there are certainly things where I talk about like experiences of more difficult adult themes that are, probably not for children, but might be worth discussing with teenagers. And part of that project is this book, Untimely Verses, a little chat book that I released, which is a reflection of various news events that happened in 2024. I wrote the poetry in there as sort of a creative response and reflection on how the year was unfolding, like week to week, and so when you go to it, you can sort of like go through it almost as like a poetic journal of what happened in the year and my personal responses to that. All right, adult stuff out of the way. As I say, there are kids' books. The kids' books come in multiple formats. The Littlest Kingdom. You have 3 princesses on the front. This book contains the stories 3 princesses have an adventure, The Wise Woman and the Voice Up the Tree, and The Adventures of the Magnificent Steve Jr. So you've got some adventures in there. The word adventure comes up twice. It's a theme. Then we have the sequel, The Return of the Littlest Kingdom. You can tell it's a sequel because it's got the word return in it. Little head tip for you. This one's got the princess and the yellow boy, A Wonderful Day for a Quest, and the knight and the unicorn. I'll show you the back. You've got, once again, the Magnificent Steve Jr. in his little rainbow kilt. He's got a morning star. I love a morning star. Princesses, unicorns, the works. And then, finally, I have Tales from the Littlest Kingdom. It contains all 6 stories that are in the original. You can get them for a bumper price, but with an additional 3 stories in there, which expand the world, expand the theme. Some of the characters come back. You get some nice, fun things. The first 3 stories are available on Audible, read by me. Go and check them out. And they're also available. The first 6 stories are all available electronically, downloadable. If you'd rather have like ebooks to carry around on your phone, your tablet, to read to your kids, more love to you. I mean, feel free to buy both, I don't mind. But they're all available on Amazon. The final 3 stories in this collection are currently only available in physical format, although they are going to appear in this channel as I get around to them as me reading to you. So you can put them on with your kids. A little bit of wholesome YouTube content. Love it. These are definitely for kids. It's about identity. It's about whimsy. It's about adventure. I think they're charming. I think I'm charming. Right? But again, kids' books. Yeah? Middle grade kids' books. Very accessible, fun, light. There's some fun vocabulary in there. It's a way of learning and reading with your kids that I hope you really enjoy. I hope you really get into it. If your kids like this, I'm working on middle grade stuff that helps bridge the gap between that super adult content that I've got that is very much sort of an over 18 or at least over 16 type vibe with, the 8 to 10 range. If you enjoy reading this with the kids and you think, oh God, he's funny, go and read Many Winged Retreat because that is funny. Read 13th Prince because there's a black humour that runs through all of my stuff that is there. And I hope you really enjoy it. That's the intro to my channel. See you in the comments. Leave me a review. Talk to you later.